Hi everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel, and if you are new here, my name is Eve Daniels and I am the Nerdy Nanny, a children's author. But that's not what this video is about. This video is actually about everything that's been going on, I guess. I was talking with my mother, and so if this goes badly, we'll just blame her. She was talking about how important it is to sort of keep track of everything and how much the world has changed, and I sort of laughed and went along with it. And then I actually thought about how long the current situation has been progressing, and I went back and looked at it, and I realized how long it's actually been. So, oh, and apologies for the hat, but my hair has now grown to the point where nothing can control it, except the hat, obviously. So we're just gonna roll with it. But I guess she was talking about how important it is to keep track of things, so that's what I'm doing. This is me keeping track of things. Welcome to the Quarantine Chronicles. It's been actually about 6 weeks for me. I know it's been different for everyone else. For me, it really started in mid-March. That was when we first started hearing about coronavirus in the news, and it had been going on for a while. I'm sure there were snippets, of the news, but as someone who doesn't regularly watch the news or have time to, it was not in my circle of consciousness. The first time I actually really thought about it was when I was helping one of my babysitting girls with an assignment for school, and we were talking about the potential economic ramifications of coronavirus. And then I had to actually start Googling it, and I don't know, it was hard not to get annoyed, because here was this new bug, We'd been through this before. Swine flu, S1N1, or whatever it was. There was a new thing every year, and everyone was making such a big fuss over this one. Keep in mind, this was very early days. None of us knew how things were going to progress. None of us knew what things were going to become. So in the beginning, it was hard not to get annoyed at everyone freaking out and panicking. Especially when I started seeing the effect it had on the girls at babies. Like, they were getting really nervous, and we had to sit them down and have a talk and be like, look, yes, there's this new thing out there. It's basically a supersized flu. If you or I get it, we're gonna be okay. The reason to be concerned would be to pass it on to someone who maybe isn't as healthy, like grandma or grandpa, or like little babies, or people who might be sick. And I still stand by that. The primary concern is not for me. If I get it, it would suck, but I'm probably going to be fine. It's all of the other people in my life that I care about that aren't going to fare so well. But we'll get to that. So this first week, where we're just hearing about it, and then my babysitting family was going on vacation. That same week, we started instituting new restrictions at work. And again, for those who don't know, I come from a science background, so epidemiologically, it's sort of, okay, yeah, there's a new flu bug, we're taking health precautions, everything's getting wiped down. It made sense to me. When people started taking it seriously, I think, was with the NBA. But even then, to me, it was sort of, okay, whatever. I mean, it made sense. You've got a bunch of people in close proximity to each other. If one of them gets it, of course all of them are going to get it. Why is everyone freaking out? Yes, you should shut down the NBA because they all have it at this point, or they've all been exposed. And this was week 2. I'm trying to keep things straight. So we were now in sort of week 2, and the girls were on spring break, so I did not have my babysitting job. And organic chemistry, the school had shut down. My school had shut down, and they'd shut down for a week, and we didn't really know why. We thought this is just a precaution, with the NBA. There's no big deal. Just being safe. People were canceling concerts, and again, that made sense to me. Like, okay, they're canceling events with lots of people and crowds. It's a little over the top, but it makes sense. They're being cautious. That's good. So we're at the end of week 2 now, and I'm watching people being told to keep their physical distance and wash their hands. And I'm watching them respond by panicking, locking their children indoors, and buying toilet paper. So it was very hard not to get annoyed, especially with the whole hoarding toilet paper. Like, thank God I bought a giant pack at Costco actually like the month before, so it wasn't an issue. But it was so absurd to watch. You had people reacting to the news of this virus, this cold, like it was a hurricane, and I couldn't understand. But where it started to sink in was when certain people whose shows I watch on YouTube announced that they were closing down their offices. And these are people who I know work 60 to 80 hours a week, and their continued revenue stream is entirely dependent on their ability to create content. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was sort of a wake-up moment. Like, oh, this is pretty serious. Now, my babysitting family was back, and the girls were going to start school again the following week when we got the news that there was going to be no school the next week. And that was the same time I got the news that all of my classes had been switched to online, which a lot of my fellow students were very frustrated about. Like, coronavirus. Organic chemistry is a very difficult class. Switching it to online, we were signing our academic death certificates. It was really frustrating. And again, this was still early days. There were no precautions in place in the county where I was. There was no rules. There was no nothing. There was just the schools had shut down and a few concerts had been canceled. It's like, okay, this is annoying. And then things kind of went downhill from there. A lot of my friends transitioned to working from home, and they were very frustrated with the situation. And I, with the best of intentions, gave advice on how to handle being cooped up at home as only someone who gets to leave the house every day can. It didn't sink into me because I was still going to work. Nobody was wearing masks. People were all over each other. I mean, behind the counter, you're still wearing gloves and everything because, basic food safety. But nobody else was. And then they started closing the restaurants. First, it was capacity restrictions. And I wasn't going back to my nannying job because the family that I nanny for runs a restaurant. So not really much of a point in having me there when they're only going to work a couple hours a night. Like, the numbers were so low that one of the parents would take off. No point in them both being there. And so that was frustrating. So but at the same time, organic chemistry had started up online again, and I needed the time to study. So I was like, okay, not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Oh, naivety is a gift, isn't it? So things continued, and I was still going to work 20 hours a week at my bakery job. We had cut our hours there. I was still going to Organic Chem Online. And then we had our sort of uh-oh moment. And it was really scary. One of my roommates started having symptoms. She had a high-grade fever and a cough for 3 days, and we were really worried. I called my boss as soon as I found out that she was sick because I can't be in a food service position if I'm in a house with someone who could potentially be a COVID patient. And we spent 2 days trying to figure out how to get tested, where to go to get tested, if there were even tests available. By now, the restaurants had shut down except for takeout and carry out, and we did not leave the house at all. We were staying inside, that nobody was going anywhere. But at the same time, I started thinking about all the people that I've come in contact with. We have a lot of older patients at the bakery. My mother is in the over 65 age bracket, so she's in that risk group. My dad was coming by the house on a regular basis to use my internet because he didn't have internet, and he is also older. And most of the people in my family are relatively healthy, but the thought of potentially passing something on to someone that I cared about, it was really scary. And we didn't know what to do, so eventually we found a place that had testing, but you had to book an appointment so that people weren't crowding the offices, which makes sense, but the first test wasn't available for a few days. So now it's been like a week, and the fever's gone, but again, there's a 14-day incubation period. Either me or my other roommate could be carriers at this point and still not know it, so neither one of us are going to work. Well, she wasn't going to work anyways, but that's because she worked somewhere else, and they were not an essential business. And so we got my roommate in to get tested, and it's like a week later now, and they say, okay, it's going to be 2 to 3 days. So now the weekend's coming up, and we're at the end of the 4th week, and it's like, okay. Test results? And nope, no test results. So now it's 3 to 5 days. And then it was 5 to 10 days. It took 9 days to get her test results. It was 9 days we spent locked in the house. Sick with nerves. Just because we didn't know. No one knew. And in the end, it was a false alarm. She just had a regular cold. She did not have coronavirus. But for those 14 days, we did not know what was happening. We didn't know what was going on. So that was really scary, and that was sort of the I'm not on the sidelines of this anymore moment. Like, this is so that was when I sort of realized that I wasn't a spectator in this anymore. I was in this. We were all in this. I still haven't been able to go back to my tutoring or nanny job, although we have tried doing virtual tutoring, and that seems to be working, so we'll probably be doing more of that. My organic chem class ends in about 2 weeks, which I have to admit is going to be a huge relief, because even though it's nice to have something scheduled to go to that isn't the bakery, it's a hard class. It's like I'm ready to be done, and I'm still going to the bakery 4 days a week, and every time I go, I wear my N95 mask, and I wonder if today's going to be the day that I bring something home. If today is the day that I get it, if today is the day that I pass it on. So this is our new normal. We don't leave the house unless we absolutely have to. I've only gone shopping twice since this whole thing started. Once for a Costco run in the early days when I was watching people hoard toilet paper and trying to figure out why they were freaking out. And I still don't understand the hoarding toilet paper thing. Like, okay, like, you tell people to wash their hands, they go buy all the toilet paper. What? Why? How does that make sense? But, and then I also broke a tooth in the middle of all this, so I had to go to an emergency dentist appointment, and I went grocery shopping one other time. The rest of the time, my roommate has had things delivered to the house. I've mostly been eating freezer food and clearing out the pantry, because we have plenty of food at home for hurricane season, so been making my way through that. And yeah, this is normal. I've had Zoom parties at this point. I haven't seen my nephew in a while, and I miss him terribly. My dad's still coming and going because I have internet, and internet is a useful thing. And I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. I don't know how things are going to change in the coming weeks or months, or if I'm being completely honest with myself, years. This is where having a science background is not a blessing. I am very aware that while we choose to think in the short term because it is what we can handle, there are long-term repercussions that we will be feeling for a long time. And I don't want to get into that too much because it's alarming. It can be alarming, but it's just facts. It's just information. Having more information can never hurt you. It can only help you prepare, unless you're the type that freaks out, in which case it can definitely hurt you. So we're just not going to get into that. But yeah, we're safe. We are healthy for now. Unfortunately, we are not able to stay home because I work in a necessary service, as does my roommate. She works in telecommunications. So we go to work every day and hope for the best.